In this video, we'll be focusing on the documents needed for DSCR loans and the typical conditions that come up. Real quick before we get into the video, if you're interested in applying for a DSCR loan, feel free to click on the link in the description below. Now let's get into the video. After helping many investors with the DSCR loan, I've seen a lot of common conditions come up. Now keep in mind, depending on the scenario or the deal itself and the person, there may be a condition that comes up that I might have never seen before. You'll always learn something new in this industry. But from majority of investors I work with, I figured out these common conditions that come up so I could prepare my client when we start the deal. And this also allows for a faster and smoother process. Now let's start off with the initial documents needed in order to submit a DSCR loan. The first document is your ID. So a driver's license could work, a passport picture could work too. Keep in mind, if you submit a driver's license that does not show your primary address on the license, then the lender will question that address and they will want a document proving that you live at your current residence. We typically will need a 2-year history in order to submit an application. The next document is proof of primary residence. A utility bill can help you with this, as long as it shows that it's going to your primary address and your primary address is also the subject property on the utility bill, it can work. Same with a mortgage statement. It also has to have your name on it. You'll also need a homeowner's insurance quote if you're purchasing a property, or if you own a property, a homeowner's insurance policy. If you're purchasing or refinancing in an LLC, we'll need your LLC documents. And those documents are your EIN document, your operating agreement, and your articles of organization. Keep in mind with your operating agreement, some lenders want to see that you're an owner of at least 25%, some lenders want to see you have 51%, and some lenders want to see you have even more. So it's really important to speak to your loan originator about which route you're going to take. Another document they'll require for the LLC is a certificate of good standing that you could order on your state's website. Now there are some states that I believe they can only mail it, but majority of states, I believe you could get it online or within a couple business days sent to your email. Now this document is only valid for 30 days. So typically I won't tell clients to order this until after I see what conditions actually come up. So once we get that conditional loan approval, it will list out all the conditions needed to satisfy the loan. We'll take a look at the conditions and that will give me an idea on time frame, how long it will take to close. If the property is being rented, they'll need a lease agreement to show the current rent. If you're doing a refinance and the property is vacant, then they'll just go based off of the market rent. Keep in mind, when you're doing a refinance, you'll have to come up with a reason why your property is even vacant in the first place. Could be because you're in between tenants or you did some renovation or whatever your reason is. Some lenders will actually cut the LTV if the property is vacant and they don't have a valid reason, which means that you won't be able to do the max cash out or do a higher LTV with rate and term. If you're purchasing a property, they typically will want to see a purchase contract, the earnest money deposit. So if you're doing a deposit, they'll want to see a copy of the check, and they'll also want to see a bank statement showing that the check has been taken out. Now, depending on when you actually do this, you might not get that statement generated yet. You might have to wait a month. If for some reason you think you can close faster in a month because there's limited conditions on there, then you could get a transaction statement that shows the URL on the top or the bottom of the page. And you'll have to get a transaction history 60 days before that earnest money deposit payment came out. If you can't get an online transaction statement, then you'll have to go to the bank and then they'll have to stamp and sign each page. Majority of lenders typically also want 2 months of bank statements. They want to see in this bank statement should be enough funds to cover the down payment, the closing costs, and the reserves. Depending on the purchase price, reserves could be anywhere from 3 months to 12 months. Now, some typical conditions that come up on the conditional approval are proof of large deposit. So if you show them a bank statement and you have a very large deposit, they'll want to source that deposit. So if you have a check going in for like $20,000, they'll want to see a copy of that check and they'll also want to source it. Where did it come from? If you deposit $10,000 in cash, that's usually tough to prove and they won't count it. So any large cash deposits typically will not be counted. Now, if they look at your credit report and see that you've been at different addresses or different addresses come up on your credit report, they may question those other addresses. Sometimes, a very, very few times, you might have an address on there that you don't even know of. Or you may even have an office address that comes up of somewhere you used to work. All you have to do is come up with a letter of explanation, just stating how you're associated with that address. If you're not, just say you have no idea. And they typically go back 2 years. They want 2 years of address history. Another condition that comes up is verification of mortgage. They want to verify that all the mortgages you currently have are paid on time. And there's 2 ways to solve this. You either get all the mortgage statements for every single property you have, showing that all payments are made on time, the most recent mortgage statements, or your lender will order a credit supplement. Another condition that comes up a lot on bank statements is that if there's 2 people or more on the bank statement, they'll want an access letter, basically explaining how much access you have to the funds in the bank account. So if you're on there with your wife, some lenders will be okay with your wife providing a letter stating, hey, he has 100% access to the funds in this bank account, ending in the 4 account number. If it's a business bank statement and 2 names are on there, depends on the lender you go with, they'll typically look at the operating agreement, find out where your percentage of ownership is in the LLC, and they'll only count that much towards any down payment, closing costs, or reserves. So it's very important to be prepared for that. It really depends on the lender you go with. Now, if you had any inquiries on your credit within the last 90 days, some lenders will require you to provide a letter of explanation for these inquiries and if any credit was extended. A common one is like if somebody applied for a credit card and they got like a $5,000 credit limit, you basically just have to write a letter saying, hey, look, I applied for this credit card, I got a $5,000 credit limit on this date. Now, if you're purchasing or refinancing a condo, lenders will typically order a condo questionnaire to find out if the condo is warrantable or not, and that could affect your LTV depending on which lender you go with. If you're doing a refinance cash out, they'll typically want a letter basically stating that you're using these funds from the cash out for business purposes only. Now, those are the common documents and conditions I've seen come up with DSCR loans. In other scenarios that are less common, I've seen other things come up, but in this video, I'll just give you the common items. Now, it's very important to have a knowledgeable loan originator to help you with your DSCR loan, to help you navigate through these conditions and help prepare you so that everything goes smooth. If you would like to apply for the DSCR loan, feel free to click on the link in the description below. I hope this was helpful for you. Comment, let me know what your thoughts are. Like if you thought it was helpful. And make sure you subscribe because I'll be making a lot more videos on DSCR loans, other investment loans, and other investment vehicles.